And now we have Mr. Víctor Fernández de Alba. He's going to talk about the Plone 7 roadmap. Really important. Please, Víctor, you're going to mention plips in this one.
Yes, basically.
So that's the important thing, especially for the Brazilians in the room. Para os brasileiros, para vocês entenderem como a gente pode melhorar o Plone, como funciona o processo. So if you're Brazilian, if you're not from Brazil, but you understand whatever language I'm saying now, Víctor is going to talk about the plip process. That's an important part of the foundation of Plone. Thank you. A round of applause.
Yeah, welcome to this talk. Yeah, I'm so happy and delighted to be here to show you what's coming, and also to announce in this conference that we have plans for Plone 7. So it's no longer, yeah, when Plone 7 arrives. No, I mean, we do really have plans for Plone 7. We have a list of plips already, as Erico said. We have what we called, but before starting, yes, it's not a typo, right? Plone 7 roadmap, so it's for sure. I mean, it's for real. And yeah, we had in the Plone community an improvements in process and a proposal process in place, right? Unlike many other open source softwares. By a single person so many times, or a group of maintainers that decide where this software is going, where this library is going. This is very common. And unlike all these open source projects, we have a process, and we follow this process very carefully. And this process implies that anybody in the community can write what we call a plip. A plip is the acronym for Plone Improvement Proposal, right? And anybody, as I said, anybody can write a plip. And nowadays you go to GitHub, you create an issue, you mark it as a plip, and then the process starts, right? When someone creates this plip, this proposal, because he thinks that this proposal can improve Plone and can be included in the next versions of the software. Then there are some teams that are devoted to look into those plips and to decide which plips are in or are dismissed, right? Because of something. They normally also help nurturing and help developing these initial ideas, right? Because a plip is no else than at the beginning an idea, and then this proposal needs to be developed, right? And it needs to be landed. Right, and these teams, these Plone community teams, help the person that is proposing to land his proposal, and then once this proposal is completed, then it's voted in these teams, and then it's decided if it lands or not. Process. Another important thing is that the person proposing this idea doesn't have to forcefully implement finally this idea. So you can only have the idea because, yeah, could be that you're not a developer itself. So someone, as I said, anybody in the community can write the ideas, can write plips, and it doesn't have to really implement the idea. So this idea stays, and this plip, if this plip is approved, then someone is free to implement it. But it doesn't have to be the person proposing this idea, which is also important, right? So, I mean, and also lowers the bar. No, how could I implement this? Because I have no idea how Volto works or how the backend works, really, right? It's only, no, I have this idea because my client came and asked for it, whatever, and it will be great to have it in core. This is normally the most usual thing that happens, right? So we had 2 months ago, we had a sprint in Ferrara at Red Turtle's offices, and we built this Kanban board because we felt that we had enough plips to write an initial roadmap for Plone 7, right? So we gathered together. It was a near magical discussion because we had all the flips on the table, and then we arranged them. A lot of nice to have flips that we wanted in Plone 7. Some of those flips are not that breaking, are features. These flips can make it into 6.x Plone, right? Or can make it into Plone 7, but we identify them as, no, we want them in Plone 7. Maybe they happened before. Yeah, who knows, right? So what I like to do is, this is the photo of the Kanban board with post-its that we built. But what I wanted to do is go one by one and identifying which flips are those, the reason behind them, and how we're going to do that, right? And yeah, the first one, so this is the MVP. So we have Vit as bundler, remove semantic UI from the CMS UI, improve the block styles preview, and the new theming. This is what we consider that is the minimum thing that Plone 7 should address. Let's go one by one, and let me explain how they are about. So first of all, Vit as bundler. You know that nowadays we're using Razzle. Maybe you heard about it. Razzle is a tool that was built by Jared Palmer, which is nowadays the vice president of Vercel. You know, who rings any bell, right? So once he joined Vercel, he abandoned the project basically and was focused into other things. And really nobody jumped to continue it, mostly because other projects, other libraries went out and then kind of superseded Razzle. So nowadays we're using Razzle and it's unmaintained. And we want to change that situation because, I mean, we cannot stay with Razzle much more because it's mostly using deprecated versions of things like Jest and some other software tooling that Razzle is using. So we want to move out of Razzle. So there is this project that is very successful right now, and almost every framework out there is using them. So here you see the list of frameworks that Vite supports. React, of course, but Vite nowadays also build Angular, Vue. They have their own unit test runner, which is called Vitest. Then Solid, Svelte, Astro, name your own. All of them use Vite nowadays. And I think it's a good idea to move to Vite, right? The only ones that are not using Vite is the Vercel guys, the Next.js guys, because they are building their own thingy, because they are the coolest guys in the block, whatever. But we think that Vite is a good option. And yeah, the idea is to replace Razzle and use Vite as bundler and transpiler. Then it's very flexible. It runs on a very flexible plugin system. I will tell you something. It's been a while that I'm working with Webpack. I don't know what's your experience. I still have to learn how to write a Webpack plugin, and it's been a while. It took me 45 minutes to write my first Vite plugin. I only will say that. I don't know. I think this is important to mention that. And yeah, it's more, the API is super straightforward. The documentation is that long. I wrote it by reading it. All good. It's lightning fast. It's based on instant server start. So it really only looks at the things that should be transpile and bundling at that moment, and then it only builds that. So it just starts and it works. So you don't have to wait any time to go to your site, point, and then your site appears. It uses a philosophy of zero configuration. So you drop in the React plugin and it just works. No matter if your code is in TypeScript, on JavaScript, or whatever, it just builds it, right? And same for images, for SVGs, whatever. So by default, everything it's just configured to work. I mean, you don't have to configure any loader, anything. It just works. Maybe for some other more specific things, you need some plugin, some loader, whatever. But for the basic things, basic as in the more common things that you are doing, it just works, which is also amazing. So you just run. I mean, the configuration is that long, and then it compiles your React application, for example. It's now, there is kind of a trend nowadays that every successful project, then someone, the maintainer or the maintainer in this case is the creator of Vue, which is Evan You. I don't know if you heard about him. He's a very smart guy, but he created now a startup because why not? And everybody does that. And now this startup is VC-baked and it's helping to develop further the project because they became very, very ambitious since they overrun the internet with it. So now there is a startup behind and they have a roadmap, as I said, quite ambitious and it's it looks very amazing. So I'm quite fond that they could bring good features to Vite in the future. Yeah, the only problem is that again we are looking again at the open source project that is VC-baked by a company. But yeah, I mean, anyways. Yeah, the next thing, moving on, is, I didn't mention it, but I included the number of the plip where if you are more interested in each plip, you can go there, read the proposal, and know more about it. The next one is remove semantic UI from the CMS UI, right? And then you could, wait a second, Victor. What the heck is the CMS UI? And what is semantic UI? Okay, so let's do a pause in here in this slide, and let's explain a little bit. So the CMS UI, or what we call CMS UI, is the part that only the editor sees, only the administrators of the site see, and anybody that is anonymous or only goes and sees the public site is we call it the public site. But all this UI that allows you to add new content, edit content, manage this content, so the CRUD operations, the managing the content, also configuring your site with the control panels, blah, blah. We call this CMS UI. And it's very common, and probably all of us will say at some point, CMS UI. But so you know that when we are saying that, we are referring to all the admin interface, the editor interface, right? Also, the other thing, semantic UI. So we are using semantic UI, which is a library that it's been around since quite a few times, and now it's also unmaintained. It turned out that, open source project, so someone started and then it abandoned, someone else retake the maintenance, but then he also left. Well, and then Microsoft grabbed and forked it, and then it was a little bit a mess what happened in there. And semantic UI was good for starting Volto. It allowed us to quickly develop Volto, and quickly also starting develop projects in Volto that will, it gave us this easiness of start quick, right? And but with the time, with the years, it showed its problems, right? So semantic UI turned out not to be that semantic. That's for sure. That's for starters. We realized that later. Of course, we've been polishing here and there in Volto to overcome all these problems. But yeah, we realized that since it's unmaintained, we have all these nuances with it. So it's time to change as well. Then also, I want to, in this post, I want also to point to and to explain another thing that is going on in the Plone community. In fact, my 2 talks that I'm giving these days are interrelated, right? And I want also to tell you this, that we are working in an API first story for Plone, meaning that all the good things that we know that Volto provided back in the day, we're kind of slicing it, because we had these 2 monoliths now. We have the classic UI and the Volto UI, and both monoliths, I call them monoliths because both provides at the same time the public UI, the CMS UI, the admin UI, right? And on the top of that, the project that you built on the top of it, right? And you go with them. I mean, if you choose Volto for doing a project, you have to go full Volto. And you are constrained to the decisions that we took there for building your project, including semantic UI and other decisions that we take, that we took back in the day. Same happens for Classic. If you go full Classic, you have to cope with the decisions that we made in there and build your project with it. So we start thinking, and okay, so what's the best feature? So what are the features that we will extract from the monolith and then use them separately? Because, you know, I mean, could be that a project that I have to do, I don't need to have a full Volto on it, but only accessing the content and have a way to render it in my site, right? So we try to identify which are those things that we wanted to extract, and then we built what we call the @Plone wildcard packages, or the Plone frontend packages, right? We have a bunch of them. We have Plone registry, the Plone client, Plone components, Plone theming, and Plone slots, and quite a few more that I didn't want to show in here. And the idea is, with these components, I mean, with these libraries, build and what Plone 7 will be, right? Okay. If you want to know more about these components, this is my other talk, Friday, last slot of the day. And once being said, let's play again, and let's go to this slide. So let's talk about Plone components, which is one of these libraries that I just mentioned. With Plone components, we want to have a basic library that that contains very basic, very foundational components, which you can build your own UIs, right? We are not talking about the logging component. We are not talking about the components view. No, we're talking about buttons, about links, about very basic, and which these basic components and foundational components, we are building more complex components, right? And these basic components, we decided to build them on the top of React Area components and React Area itself. React Area, I don't know if you heard about it, is a library that it's backed by Adobe. Adobe is investing a huge amount of money in this library because they need it for their products, and they needed them to be semantic because their clients ask them for their products to be, accessible. And they built this library, which is the best library out there for accessibility. And their components are highly accessible. And that team that is building this library knows a lot about accessibility. And nowadays is the best option, or we think that is the best option. Having Adobe on the back again, yeah, someone could have There are problems with it, but yeah, we think that it's a good option to go there. So we are basing Plone components on React area components, and that on its own, it's based on React area. So we will have highly accessible basic components in Plone by default. And the idea is to start using them for replacing the semantic UI from the CMS UI. Why are we replacing them first from the CMS UI? Because when you build a theme, a public site of your the public site of your website, right? It could be that you already are not using semantic UI, which is the case of Volto Live theme. So if you are using Volto Live theme in the public site, we are not using semantic UI anymore. So problem solved. If you remove semantic from the editor part, so your site is semantic UI less site. So we put this in the MVP, and then you'll see that as a second stage, the idea is to remove completely semantic UI from Plone. Let's move on. So yeah, the next one is improve the block style preview in edit mode. This is what we internally call it the block model 3, and Dante just talked about it. So why we have already 3 definitions of block model? Because the first definition, we call it the vanilla Volto one, is the one that is in the default Volto. We improve it a little bit in the first versions of VLT. VLT 6 still uses the version 2, let's say, but we want to go further because we had all this feedback that we got during the last years, and we want to make some changes that will improve how you develop and which is the user experience for that, because by improving it, we are improving both things at the same time. So yeah, one of the things in the develop side that we're improving is that there was a little, for example, duplication of classes here and there in the wrappers of the edit mode, and we want to completely get rid of it. We made some mistakes in there that we are overcoming using crazy selectors and things like that. And yeah, we decided that, you know what, we need to fix this somehow and do it right. One of the things that also there is also a problem in the developer side is that we have a view mode and an edit mode for a block, and that also doesn't make any sense because you have to kind of duplicate some CSS here and there. Of course, in the edit mode, could be that you need some CSS that is not exactly what you have in the view mode, but still is a little bit cumbersome. We want to fix that. So the idea is that we will have the same classes in the view mode and in the edit mode. And of course, this will be a little bit breaking, but overall, it will be much more better. That's why we wanted to do it also in the next Plone major version. How about the user experience for that? So yeah, we started some experiments on the block model 3 in the last Beethoven sprint, and let me show you also in this video what are the improvements. So you can see we are in the view mode right now, and all of a sudden we will go to the edit mode, and we are on the edit mode already. So if you realize there was no jump at all between the view mode and the edit mode, which is what we are trying to achieve. So it's just all of a sudden it's on edit mode. And then you know that in VLT we have the background colors. Dante just showed it. So we can change the background color of a block, and then it will adapt right away in real time, like you see, right? All the vertical relationships inside the same background color adapts with a nicer animation just because we can, right? I mean, you know, And this is what is all about this flip. So improving not only the editing experience for the users, but also for developing. It will be much more straightforward. Okay, let's continue. Yeah. This is the small advertising for going, or if you haven't seen Dante's talk, which was the previous one, just watch it afterwards in the record version. So next one is theming. We want to push for a new theming system because, of course, we are removing semantic UI, so we will have to do something in there, right? Mostly because semantic UI came with the theming system on itself, so we kind of adopt it at the beginning. So we need a new theming system. We also learned a lot from developing the Volto Live theme and from all the projects that we did back in the past. And we think that we can extract all the foundational things of Volto Live theme and all the niceties that the Volto Live theme provides and move it to the core. I'm not saying the Volto Live theme will be in the core. So no, we are not, again, putting another theme on the core. So the idea is that we have a vanilla theme so thin that you don't care to put something else on the top. And when I say no, I don't care, is that we've been 20 years doing the same. I mean, for all the old farts that I've been also developing projects in Plone since the beginning, what is the first thing that you do? Override the vanilla styles, right? And then more often the old styles get in there, only that they are not being applied. So this is also a performance issue because you are loading CSS that you're not using anymore, right? So why having something that we're going to override afterwards? So the idea of this new theming system is that it's so thin that it only provides a very basic layer of CSS that either you reuse because it's your choice, or you say, you know what, I'm going to remove all the CSS, I'm going to put mine, right? And I think that we are getting somewhere. And we already have a POC. Piero is using it in his Next.js POC. I am using it in my POC of React Router 7. And I really think that we are getting somewhere after 20 years. No, kidding. But yeah, and we're still experimenting. It's an experimental packages, so this will evolve for sure as we develop these two packages. Yeah, another thing of these layers of this theming system is that we will use as much as possible of the CSS new features and niceties that they came out the last years. For example, we are introducing layers. I don't know if you've heard about CSS layers, but they are amazing. No more specificity hell. And if your CSS is assigned to the last layer, that will be the one that will win. And yeah, if you haven't have time to experiment with CSS layers, please do, because it's amazing. And yeah, we will define a set of layers, then you will join or inject your CSS in the appropriate layer, and then you'll be done. Other CSS features that we're going to leverage are CSS properties, which Dante also showed that we are overusing. We are perusing a lot. And then container queries. It's also something amazing, and we are doing that a lot lately. So yeah, that's more or less the idea of this new theming system. Let's go for the stage 2. The MVP stage 2, there are, as I said, there are flips that we would like it to be there, but has kind of a second priority, right? And the first one is the React Router 7. So we are using in Volto a very, very old version of React router, which is router 5. And routers in React and in other frameworks have evolved a lot. But when I mean a lot is that they have features that are key nowadays for a better user experience and for performance, right? And we want to jump into that train. It won't be easy because, as I said, it kind of, one step up, and it's like they are like night and day as they used to work with. But this will allow us to get rid of some deprecated libraries that we're using in Volto. Not only React Router 5, but also Async Connect. If someone had to fight Async Connect, please raise your hand. Okay. Yeah. So the new routers solve all the problems that we had back in the past, especially with data acquiring. So when you are acquiring your data and in SSR mode, in server-side rendering, so it's more easy and it's more performant. So you don't have to do a double request, one in the server-side rendering and another in the client. It's just only one. It has these mechanisms to get this data into the client, and then it just shows. So yeah, this split will use React Router 7 will use Plone client, which is one of these Plone libraries that we are building. It's currently in alpha, but it's it's near to a final 1.0.0. Plone client provides access to the Plone REST API from a common interface in JavaScript, right? So it's a JavaScript client for the Plone REST API. This was done 1 year ago in a GSOC project by Emant. And now we are using it in some headless API first projects. Next one is, as I said before, as a second priority is remove semantic UI from everywhere. This will mean that these packages will get into Volto as well. So Plone theming, Plone slots, and Plone components, we will replace the current components and the complex components, which are the slots, with the semantic-less version, right? Then something that is quite ambitious, but I think that is the way to go, is having an independent CMS UI. So imagine that you have a site that is so lightweight that is 100% Chrome Web Vitals by default, right? I mean, and some frameworks already provide that out of the box, like Next.js or Remix, whatever. But they are they focused on the public UI, right? As we want to make it, as I said, a monolith, right? You want to pack in the same box the public UI, the CMS UI, the admin UI. It happens a couple of things. The first thing is that the bundle explodes. So the bundle is huge. And this is a problem of performance, right? And then there are some places that you don't need really the whole monolith somewhere. You only need the public side because you're focused into publishing content, right? I mean, especially when the users of that, so the editors of that site are few or one person. Like, why for one person I have to deploy the whole CMS UI to my site and then make it slow, have the bundle is huge, whatever. So no, I only deploy the public side, and then I have the means for editing by another way. And that's how is this all about. How, if we could extract the CMS UI, put it on a library, and then it works independent from anything else, right? So I can put the CMS UI anywhere. Anywhere means, for me, a desktop app using Ionic or some other thingy that builds desktop apps out of React or other JavaScript components, right? Or a mobile app. sorry, I mentioned Ionic, Electron, and Ionic is for mobile, right? How about having it everywhere? Or delivered separately. So I have a deployment with the public UI, and I have another deployment with the editor. They're separated. I'm not going to bloat the anonymous users with all the bulk of the edit just because, right? So that's the idea of Plone editor package, and I think that we can have huge benefits out of it. Next one is Vitest. I don't know you, but I'm so over Jest, and I hate it so much, and it's so complex of configuring and everything, and it feels like a blast of the past. So Vit and the Vit community has a unit test runner, and this unit test runner, of course, is based on Vit, and it's blazing fast, and it's zero configuration, and it just works, and it's compatible with Mocha Chai syntax, so it just works. So you drop an old test there, and of course there are some, could be that you have to adapt it a bit, or there are some nuances or whatever, but it should work right away. So one of the things is to replace Jest. We give it a farewell, and then we use Vitest, and yeah, that's it. I will try to run a little bit. Yeah, then next one is miscellaneous library upgrades. We are using an ancient version of React Intel, and this is also the main pain point of this item. And we have other libraries that probably we will need to upgrade them, make them work in a modern way, like Redux and others. Okay, then we are reaching the nice to have ones. The first one and most interesting part is the blobs on object storage, and this is a backend one. It will be interesting being able to offload servers, the server that we are deploying Plone from blobs, not only in the ZODB, but also in RHEL storage. And this will allow us also to be fully and completely cloud, right? Because there are so many cloud providers for Postgres, for file object storage, and for the application itself, that we could go easily with one of these providers, fully cloud, without booting a VM anywhere, right? And this is the last piece that we need to solve, right? Next is the contents view enhancement. So this is something that RedTurtle is already have an initial implementation of Plone contents. This is a library of the Plone frontend libraries that extracted the view, the contents view from Volto itself, and then replacing semantic UI with Plone components, so it's fully accessible. We can have out of Volto this view and put it wherever we want. And again, where we could put it, in an Electron app, in a mobile app, by itself, right? I mean, they had a client that they wanted the contents be fully accessible because they had users that needed it, and they started working on that. And this is already available. So this is done, and we are near also being able to standardize that and start using it in other places, like Volto. So you could use it in Volto right away. So if you install this add-on, because this is an add-on, it will override Volto's one, and it will be using this one just by dropping it in there, right? Then we have, several other plips that are also interesting. First one, and I will mention them quickly, prefix path deployments. With Volto, we are limited to that today, but hopefully this will change This is in fact slated for Volto 19, so the next version of Volto hopefully will have it, but we will be able to deploy Volto in path deployment, so server, path, blah, whatever. Then the next one is, and this is a very important one in the backend, we want to improve the time zone handling in the backend and in Classic and in Volto, and there is a plea for that. Steve Piercy is championing it. Yeah, very interesting one also. Again, this is one of the, if it's ready before Plone 7, we're going to go there.
Alguém tem alguma pergunta?
And then we have also plans for enhancing the link widget. The link widget in Volto is kind of, I won't say meh, but it could be improved. And we have nowadays Google and all these guys, now they have quite nice link widgets that they're kind of, the UX experience are kind of the same in various platforms. So we wanted to go there, and that's the idea. Again, if this happens before Plone 7, it will be in the next version of Volto. It doesn't have to be Plone 7. Then we're planning into a keyword manager. This an add-on that was back in the day very famous in Classic. We want to have it also in Volto, and having a proper image cropping when you select images, when you upload images to Volto as well. So finishing already, how do we get there? How we get to the top of this mountain? First of all, share and spread the word on this vision, right? That we are going there, that we have these problems, that we want to address them, right? And once we all have that we have this problem, we all know that we have these problems, then work towards them, move towards fixing them, I mean, right? And then we have to be highly focused on this one, right? Because if we want these flips to happen in the next years, we need to, do whatever is in our hands to make them happen. This means that sprints have to be highly focused and devoted to them. And people have to be aware that where we are going. So again, share the vision, have which is the landscape, why we want to get there. And yeah, all the @Plone packages are in there. So by starting using them, we will be accelerating the process, because yeah, as Retalto did. So we need the contents. Let's do it. Let's start it, and then make it happen. But for example, for Plone components, there's still a lot of components that we need there still, including widgets, including things that we have in Volto and we don't have in Plone components, semantic UI-less. So if people start using Plone components will be growing thanks to that people is betting on it. If we don't bet on these new libraries are going to get stagnated, right? So by using them, we are going to finish them quicker, right? And that's why I couldn't end my talk before having this Star Trek reference. So yeah, planetary distress call, because I'm such a Trekkie, right? And allow me to say this loud. They, quotes, are not going to develop it. We are going to make it happen. So yeah, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Questions? No questions? Yeah, so come here.
Are any of these tasks separable? I don't know if that's English, but separable enough and small enough that they, for instance, could be in scope for a Google Summer of Code project? Or is it too complicated? Yes. Or yeah, are there tasks that we could split out? And
there are some. Yes, they are, especially the last ones. And for example, Plone components. Yeah, I mean, no, let's make the accordion component. Yes, so, or several, right? Or whatever. I mean, even for a sprint. So, okay, a sprint should be devoted to one, and a lot of people can work on the same thing at the same time. Most of them, yes. The answer is yes, but we need to slice them and make a little bit of PM out of it. But yeah, I mean, definitely.
More questions? Perguntas? You can do it in your language, even in Klingon. I believe we have 3. Let me see. Yeah, 3 people here that speak Klingon.
Hi. Will the classic UI will be still available in Plone 7?
Sure.
The answer is yes, but also that's really important. I'm not the speaker. I'm not anywhere close to this, but you want it to stay relevant, help to maintain it, okay? Because doesn't matter which UI you want to use with Plone, people need to maintain this, okay? And that's the important thing as a community. Então, se vocês querem a Classic UI ou qualquer outra interface, sabe, o cliente para Android, JavaScript ou Symbian OS, ótimo, ajuda a manter. Como o Victor disse, I will speak in Portuguese just to be
Sure,
clear.
yeah,
Como o Victor disse, eles vão fazer? Não. Nós temos que fazer. E assim, eu falar isso para você é meio sacanagem, porque você faz, né? Você sempre manteve. Mas é importante manter isso em mente.
Yeah, and I failed to say something, and I apologize. But for example, let's put an example. Plone contents, this library, it can go into classic UI. I don't know if you are aware of that. I mean, we're building a library that can go anywhere. So classic UI can instantiate Plone contents and show the same component and expose the same functionality that the contents view in Volto have in Classic. At the same happens for the rest. You can have Plone components working in Classic as well. And that's the whole idea. I mean, really, yes, it will work. I promise you. But again, someone has to go and make Classic work with Plone content, right?
Any more questions? So I ask for a round of applause to Víctor Fernández de Alba.